Hey there, traders. Welcome back for episode 67 from the StockBandit.tv. So, you've no doubt heard the phrase, buy the rumor and sell the news. And it's one of those things that you learn as a trader almost right after you learn to, buy low and sell high. Of course, I'm kidding about that last one, but, it is a pretty strange phenomenon, this idea of buying the rumor and selling the news. And it goes against our first instinct as traders, since we naturally think that once news is out, and something becomes certain, that it's going to bring, a continued move in the direction of that news, whether it's positive or negative. And I really think that we're predisposed to thinking that good news should drive a stock higher and that bad news should drive a stock down. And I'm going to call that our natural reaction for the sake of this video. But that sure is not always the case. As a trader, it's imperative that we recognize what the stock did in front of that news, because the missing element in our natural reaction is anticipation. What were the market participants expecting, or what were they anticipating before that news hit? And you can refer to that as the rumor phase, even if you never hear any rumors, okay? Now, the fact of the matter is that stocks are often attempting to price in news before it hits, and everybody wants to get ahead of the news when they think something's going to happen. And then, of course, we often see price reverse course and just completely change directions once that news is out. So in the buy the rumor, sell the news scenario, people buy in front of the news as they expect it to be very good and positive. And then once that news hits right there, oftentimes the stock then changes direction and sells off, largely when that news merely meets expectation. If it fails to exceed expectation or provide more motivation to continue climbing higher for the stock, then oftentimes people just interpret that as, it's time to dump the stock and move on to the next place. So today there was really a great example of this, and I want to show it to you. The stock is Palm, and they've got a new phone coming out. It's called the Palm Pre, which is going to be sold via Sprint. Now, I am a Sprint customer and I am a Palm user, and I'm one of the people who have been looking forward to this news, and at this point I do plan to get a Palm Pre. Now, I knew that the Wall Street Journal was supposed to have major news in today's issue based on other sources which suggested that a release date for the Pre would be announced today. So that, by the way, is June 6th. But a lot of people were expecting that today the Wall Street Journal would announce what date the Pre will begin selling through Sprint. Now, obviously, that's part of how I recognize this sell the news reaction, was my own personal interest in this. But today, once that news was out, which hit this morning before the bell, we saw a huge reaction in the stock, but it wasn't the positive kind. So in looking at the daily chart here, I want to show you Palm, which back here in early January was under the $3 level down here at the January low. That's just since January, by the way. This thing has quadrupled since then. So it's gone through a major move up ahead of this news. Now, people have known for months that the Pre is going to come out, but nobody knew exactly when. So there's been this steady accumulation in the stock ahead of the time that the news finally hits that here's the date when the Pre is going to come out. Okay, but intraday, when we flip over to the 3-minute chart, I want to show you what happened right after the bell. Here's the opening bell right here. The stock set its high in the opening minute of the day and promptly sold off 10% down here in the first 45 minutes. So obviously this great news that everyone's been buying in front of is finally out right there. And what do we get is a 10% slide in the stock, and on big volume, I might add. So clearly, this steady selling pressure that just did not let up, it showed that a lot of traders were just dumping the stock once that news is out. So obviously, highly anticipated news can really spark some adverse reactions, even when that news meets expectations. We see this in earnings season as well, but I wanted to point out today's example because it showed this sell the news scenario so very well. So be careful when you're trading around news. It might not lead to a move in what you think is the obvious direction. Sometimes you're going to get caught a little bit off guard, and you're going to recognize that Maybe that news simply is on par with what people were expecting, and when it's not better than they're hoping for, they have little incentive to continue buying that stock. Now, I'm certainly not calling for a top in Palm. I just wanted to note the quick 10% give back move in this stock based on that news that has been so highly anticipated here. All right. Thanks again for joining me for this episode. I will be back soon with more videos, but in the meantime, trade like a bandit.